Good morning, sunshines. It's 8 o'clock on the dot, plus 40 minutes. So I pretty much nailed this morning. I'm up at the club today, you guys. So we've already been having a delightful time. We're going to see what we can do here before everybody walks in to do our abs and maybe little booties, but probably mostly abs today because that's what I feel like working. So good morning. How are you guys? Good morning, Connie, Megan, Michelle. Man, I haven't been on my computer for a while. Like, show up so much different. Like, everybody just jumps on at once. At least that's what it tells me. How are you guys? When you jump on, say good morning, sunshine. Hashtag GMS. Good morning, Natalie, Heidi, Annabelle, Rodney. Hashtag GMS. And then share something that you're grateful for. Maybe I'll turn down our music in the background, although I like it. GMD, Joni. I like that one too. Good morning, dudes. Good morning, Bethany. How are you guys? Oh, man, we think we're so funny, don't we? And then, you guys, it's Monday morning. So those of you that practice with us regularly, you know on Mondays, we focus on our silence for our miracle morning routine. So whether that's you personally sharing right now what silence, meditation, quietness you are getting, a strategy that you use, and even if you guys share like every week, this is how I do it, then there's different people that are on that are reacting to that, right? So for me, my like silence is a lot of times around my bedtime and before I go to bed, just finding peace and quiet. And then when I wake up in the morning, and now in the middle of the night when I feed Quincy is one time, just finding like that peace and the gratitude and just being and letting my mind empty so like things can pull in, right? So how do you get your silence in? I can't wait to start running again. That's my favorite like time of silence, and I should be able to pick that up hopefully soon here, depending on my little schedule. So morning, Jojo, morning, Courtney, morning, Uncle Jeff, morning, Casey. When you're family members, I call you by how you're a family member. That's what we do to my kids, not to me, by the way. Today, I want to talk about parenting a little bit. So I had just some messages from people, and we were just chatting about like relationships with our kids, right? And first of all, you guys know I'm not a professional like at anything. I'll share my own experiences, right? I share what I learned over time, and I listen to everybody else and what they've learned over time so we can help each other be our best person, right? And I had somebody who was just asking about parenting, watching my relationship with my daughter specifically, but with my kids, right? And just, I do feel, personally, I feel like I have a very close relationship with my daughter. She's 14 years old, and I don't have, and like knock on all the wood, right? Like I don't have the tension, the buildup, and she is, I mean, she's a teenage girl. So yes, she absolutely has her, she's so cute. She wants to do her gratitudes. Come over here and do your gratitudes. She's got her stuff just like every other teenage girl does, right? But thinking about it just made me think about what are some key things I try to do in my parenting to build a strong relationship. And P.S., aside from me not being professional, every single one of us are different in our parenting, and how you're doing it, awesome. These are just some ideas, suggestions, tips, and things that I have found helpful, right? So maybe you have some suggestions that you want to share in here too. Good morning, Letty. How are you? Tiffany, Caitlin, Lauren, how's everybody doing this morning? So the number one thing I think that I do in order to build a relationship with my babies, still to teach them, educate them, lead them, right? But to build a relationship, I so want to have trust is one of the number one things. I want my babies to be able to speak to me, to talk to me, to tell me anything that they're feeling, so that they don't feel like they're hiding, right? I want them to be proud enough of their actions that they don't feel like they have to hide anything from me. So yes, teaching them good behavior, but then also creating a space of trust in case we've slipped a little bit, right? That we're not perfect, and then knowing that none of us are perfect. Mom's not perfect either. Dad's not perfect. None of us are, right? So how do I create a relationship where we can have trusting back and forth? And I'll give you examples of all different ages, since I have babies all different ages now, right? And I found that something, and I didn't even realize I do this, but something I practice a lot is empathy, right? And I don't know if you guys practice empathy in all of your relationships, but sometimes we have to stop and remember that somebody else, they have something else going on in their life. And this is not even your kids. The person that you ran into this morning who was uber pissed off, and you're like, what is wrong with them? Or the phone rep that you were on, that you were speaking to, you're like, that person, you don't know what they have going on in their life. Right? And so you can't even like directly empathize, but they might have something big or something else going on, right? So how do you communicate and how do you react instead of us getting so like, I guess like reactionary, like aggravated back when people aren't doing exactly what we want to do. So then with our kids, we look at this state of empathy, right? And what are they going through right now? What is it like as a 12-year-old boy this is for my son, Jace, right? Who's finding his place in friendships, and he's doing soccer and is just starting football. What is it like going to his first football practices? What is it like when he's got all this stuff going? I don't know what he's going on. He doesn't have a whole lot of things that I need to empathize on right now, right? But like, what is it like for him in any areas where I see he's having troubles or challenges? Okay, so like one example would be in school for him. I don't know if I should be sharing about whatever. I mean, I do. So like in school for him, one of the pieces is that he's that like I go to his conferences, his grades are good, his learning's good, but he's the loud kid. Like he's slightly distracting. He's a little bit like he wants to make all the friends. So for me, having my empathy with him after these conferences that we go to, our conversations are more around me looking at, like, he's got some great characteristics, incredible characteristics, also characteristics that get him into a little bit of trouble as a kid will probably be the same ones that help him excel as an adult in his leadership, right? So my conversation instead is like, I could just be like, why are you misbehaving in class? You should be sitting there, you keep your mouth shut, you do whatever. My reaction instead is, okay, I understand you like to talk. I get it. You're like, Mom, and then I'm putting myself in his face. I get it that you like friends. And I said, are you a leader in school? And he can tell. He's like, yes. Like, so then I changed the conversation a little bit to what you're doing, the other kids are going to want to do. So if you're talking out of space, you're leading them. And I said, well, how is that resulting in your school and their schoolwork? Like, I know your schoolwork's fine, but how is that doing? Like, what's that doing for them? So he thinks about it differently. So I'm empathizing with him, and then we're empathizing with the other kids, right? So it's not a me yelling at you. It's a let's talk about how this is affecting everyone around you. How do you think that your teacher feels when you're being like that? And at the same time, same token, like, this is one of your best traits. This is one of your primary skills. Like, your ability to talk, your ability to communicate, your ability to build friendships. That's a skill set that can grow you in life later on, right? And I don't want him to lose it. I don't want him to shut it down. In fact, if you've ever studied, there's a book called Strength-Based Leadership, or there's a Gallup poll. Maybe we'll talk about it sometime, where you can discover your innate behavior, like your characteristics that make you as special as you are. And all of us are so different, right? You can do this with your kids. And in some of the studies that I've looked at, a lot of parents, they shut down one of the best things about their children, because as kids, it's inappropriate, it's annoying, it's not adult-like, right? And maybe it's just like, seriously, your kid sings everywhere they go. Your kid, you just stop singing. Maybe that's what they were meant to do, but you shut them down, and now they don't want to pursue their dream, and they never get to reach their full potential, right? That kind of sounds silly, but a lot of times you take those good characteristics and you bash them, and that could be what makes them like the top of the top of the top of whatever industry later on. So Jason and I's conversation is about you taking that leadership and that fun and that laughter. I said, there's other classes where that's perfectly accepted. I can tell, because your teachers are in love with you, right? I'm like, you have to like learn how to read your teacher. You have to learn how to read the situation. So I'm teaching him how to use his skill. Does that make sense? Then I go to my daughter. And I go to empathy with my daughter, okay? So empathizing with her and our relationship that we have together, I feel like we're just very close, once again, because there's a space of trust. I'm knocking on all the wood. Like, I want this to be the truth forever. And I understand it may not, but all I can do is my best, right? But for us, looking at her sport and her tenacity, like, she is very, like, she's a perfectionist, OCD in all of her schoolwork, on everything, which can be a challenge. Like, I know, like, I would love for a kid to be like that. Like, Jason's spastic and all over, and Kinsey's everything's lined up. But that's also a lot of pressure on her. So I empathize with her and try to make sure she understands, you know, like, she's looking at, is she going to get into a college? If she gets to a B, will she get in a college? If she fell on her bar routine, what's that going to do to her entire season? And I'm always getting into her head and seeing, like, how does she feel as a 14-year-old girl? And P.S. for these other moms out here that have teenage girls, right? And we know the hormones are all over the place. Another big thing that I talk about is picking your battle. Like picking and choosing your battle. If you're a woman, you know that there's times of the month where you're just kind of feeling a little bit pissy. And that's just the way it is. And like trying to have a pissy match with each other, that does not help. So I can read, I know, I'm like, okay, like we're a little bit frustrated or aggravated right now. All I'm going to do is take a step back, give her some space. Right? I'm not going to be in her face during those times. Pick and choose your battles of what you want to argue about, right? Or is it even time to argue? Are you really just trying to create an argument? Which sometimes is the case, right? Looking at, I was reading, Joni, your comment about our kids being the same, right? But just picking and choosing your battles in addition to your empathy. So then here's another example, right? I was talking to my cousin last night. Her little daughter was over, yesterday, and we were all playing outside, and she's 1, right? And we live on a property with acreage, and there's mud and gunk, so she's trying desperately to keep her out of the mud. And I said, just think about it, like she's 1 year old. All she wants to do is explore. She wants to touch, she wants to see, she wants to feel. She's not going in the mud because she's trying to be bad. She's exploring the world and there's mud under her feet. She doesn't really understand. So there's like one, empathy, and 2, picking and choosing the battles. Now, if you pick up rocks and you start throwing them at people's heads, then that's like we need to have a talk about it, right? But this is just me once again, right? But it's picking and choosing those battles of empathy. And then even Quincy. Okay, Quincy's 10 weeks old today. I can't believe he's 10 weeks old. So my baby boy who's 10 weeks old, last night, I'm trying to empathize with the little guy. And he's been doing fantastic, but he didn't sleep very well yesterday. Something, I think his tummy hurts, and he's feeding at 3 o'clock. And usually we've been doing great, like a 25 minutes, we eat, he goes back to sleep. Well, he eats and he's spazzing. You guys, you should see. I need to take a video of him spazzing. His head's like all over the place. Like he's out of control. It's hilarious. And he's like, when he tries to eat, it's so cute and it's so funny. But then he's rubbing his head like in my shoulder over and over again, where usually he just eats and goes back to sleep. And I'm trying to empathize with him. I'm like, what's going on in this little body right now? Like, what is he trying to tell me? And I'm like, is his face itchy? Like, think about this. You're a baby, you can't communicate it. Is his face itchy? So I'm like, because he's trying to rub his face on me. So I'm kind of rubbing his face a little bit. And then he's tooting. So I'm like trying to rub his belly a little bit. I'm trying to empathize with how does he feel? Because he's acting out in a certain way because he feels a certain way, right? And if I can understand a little bit about how he feels, I'm not going to be so, oh my God, what are you doing, in reaction to how they start acting. And this goes through all of their life. So one thing, here's the whole point of today. And once again, I'm not a professional, y'all. You have your way, I have my way. This is perfect. But I think that as parents, if we communicate and we share, we can learn from one another some different tools that help us be better parents, right? And my focus of creating, this is just the wrap up, right? My focus of creating trust and that's the number one thing. Like I want to teach my kids to be leaders. I want to teach them to be their best version of themselves. I want to teach them that those characteristics aren't bad just because they're not great in this situation. Like to find and discover their best characteristics, no matter how out of whack those might seem for different situations, right? And I want to teach them how to grow those characteristics in a situation of not having to punish them for all the little things. Because in my eyes, if I'm always I'm punishing, where really they're trying to grow, learn, discover, become, all I'm doing is shutting them down. You see what I'm saying? So promoting growth, promoting those little abilities, even though it can be challenging as parents. Here's my challenge for you guys. All right, Brittany, come see me today. Adrian, Esther, Carly, Cassandra, everybody else that I can't see all your joins right there. My challenge for you today is, if for all of our parents who are out there, and if you're not a parent yet, you know what, practice this empathy. Think about this with other people in your life. But look at your parenting, and when you feel like you're impatient and you're getting frustrated and you're getting aggravated, and it's like you're consistently, like we're always battling, we're always butting heads, where in that could you maybe step back for a second, take a deep breath, and imagine being in their little bodies and trying to have a conversation a little bit differently about what's going on, right? So if you're committed, it's like literally this morning, all it is, you guys, is a commitment to finding some empathy. Commitment to finding some empathy, whether it's with your children or with somebody else. Put yourself in their little baby shoes, and their 14-year-old shoes, and their 12-year-old shoes, and imagine what it's like for them going through their lives. and see if that makes you react a little bit differently and with a little bit more love and open-heartedness. That's a word, open-heartedness, you guys. Okay, so we're wrapping up this beautiful Monday. So this is where you're gonna say, I love you to everybody else. So do your hearts, do your loves. Tell me if you're committed on the side to having a little bit of empathy. If you have any suggestions about like parenting things that have worked incredible for you, I think this is a really good subject for us to hit. And I know we talk about mindset and body a lot. You guys, parenting and relationships is a key piece of our life and our growth. So love every single one of you. Happy, happy Monday. I hope some of you guys are coming to work out with us because we're starting in 5 minutes. So you better hurry up. All right. Bye, guys. Bye, guys. Good job.